19 rare diseases the hospital labs missed. One agent read the raw genome data and found all 19, plus 2 more. So what decides whether you can trust an agent? This is the Agentic Daily Brief. Start with the money though, because the loudest thing overnight came from xAI. They shipped Grok 4.5, and the pitch is unusual. Not "we topped the leaderboard." Kind of the opposite. On coding benchmarks, it actually trails Fable 5 and GPT 5.5. But it runs on roughly 4 times fewer tokens than Anthropic's Opus, at a small fraction of the price, about $2 per million tokens going in, 6 coming out. Elon Musk called it Opus class. The bet is that for real agent work, where you're burning millions of tokens a day, cheap and fast beats a couple of benchmark points. And honestly, that's a bet worth taking seriously. A few more, fast. OpenAI rebuilt ChatGPT's voice as a single model that listens and talks at the same time. It can be interrupted, and it can translate while you're still speaking. Over in Sweden, the vibe coding startup Lovable is reportedly raising money at more than $13 billion, double what it was worth in December. And Google's invisible watermark, the one baked into AI images, just got used to debunk a fake photo of a US senator in a hospital bed. The catch there, it only tags images from tools that opt in, and not everyone opts in. Okay, back to that genome agent, because this one genuinely stopped me. Picture a family that spent years chasing a diagnosis. Rare lung disease, no answer. First-line hospital labs ran the genome, came back empty. So a research lab at Baylor, led by Pavel Stankovic, took more than 24 of these unsolved cases and cracked 19 of them by hand. Then a startup called Gamo Labs pointed its agent, George, at the same raw sequencer output. Blinded. No peeking at the answers. George reproduced all 19, and then found 2 the human lab had missed. The part that got me, they also handed it the healthy relatives, people who should come back clean. George cleared every one of them. 0 false alarms. Then they ran the exact same job through a general chatbot, straight off the shelf. ChatGPT's best model cleared 6 out of 20. The others didn't even finish. So why the gap? You'd assume the smarter model just reasons better. It didn't. The general models mishandled the data. One of them threw away the real answer because a routine filter quietly deleted a stretch of DNA it decided didn't matter, and the disease was hiding right there in the part it deleted. Not a reasoning failure, a data handling one. On any task where a wrong answer still looks completely reasonable, the only way to know your agent is actually right is to test it blind, against the truth. Without that, a confident wrong diagnosis and a correct one look exactly the same. Now, the honest limits, because they matter. This is Gamo's write-up of Gamo's own product, on a small set of cases. And those chatbots ran bare, with none of the specialized data tooling George had, so part of that gap is the setup, not the raw model. But the lesson survives all of it. In science, being right lives in handling the data correctly, and only a blind test proves you got there. Which lands us on a totally different flavor of trust. Not, is the answer right? But, what is this thing even allowed to touch? Here's the setup. You connect an agent to your production systems, the stuff that actually runs your business. By default, it acts as you. Your access, your permissions, your blast radius. One bad instruction and it can do anything you could do. And that's the quiet risk almost nobody scopes down. This week, Vercel shipped an agent built for exactly that, one you can let near production. And the headline isn't what it does, it's who it is. The agent runs under its own separate login, its own identity, not yours. And it's read-only by default. It can look at everything, dig through an outage, trace a bad deploy, but it can't change a thing. To actually act, it proposes a plan. You approve it. And only then does it get a short-lived key scoped to that one action. Then it drops straight back to read-only. Run the 3 a.m. version. A bad deploy ships. Checkout starts throwing errors. Before the on-call engineer has even opened the laptop, the agent's traced it to a deploy from 4 minutes earlier and recommends a rollback. Engineer taps Approve. Fixed in under 3 minutes, and at no point could that agent have wandered off and done something you never signed off on. AWS and Prime Radiant, working completely separately, landed on the exact same rule. Give the agent its own identity, its own narrow scope. So this isn't one company's clever trick, it's the shape the whole field is settling into. But, and Prime Radiant is refreshingly blunt about this, the deeper problem underneath isn't solved. Boxing an agent in lowers the risk. It doesn't remove it. The real question here isn't whether your agent is smart enough to trust. It's whether you've made it impossible for a hijacked one to hurt you. One thing worth trying before you close the laptop tonight. Take one agent you've wired into something real and ask it plainly, if you got a bad instruction right now, what's the worst you could do with my access? If the answer is, anything you can do, that's your next project, right? One more thing worth your time. There's a talk this week from Theo Brown. What do we build now? His argument, the models are improving faster than we are, so the honest response isn't to keep polishing old habits, it's to build wider and bigger. The line that stuck with me. If an idea doesn't feel almost stupidly ambitious, it probably isn't big enough yet. And a real question for you, because I want to know. If you've handed an agent the keys to something that matters, what's the one thing you scoped it down to? And what did you decide it should never, ever touch? I read every reply. So, back to where we started. 19 diseases found, every healthy person cleared, a production rollback in 3 minutes flat. None of it came down to which model was the smartest in the room. It came down to two unglamorous things, whether the agent could only do the one thing you approved, and whether somebody checked its answer against the truth. That's today's Agentic Daily Brief, brought to you by Agent Native Engineering, open knowledge for building and running AI agents. The full write-ups, with their sources, are at agentnativeengineering.com. See you next time.